So another control mechanism that is important is consumerism, pop culture. It's not as easy to control it as a school system, but it pretty much perpetuates itself. And so the strategy here is you want people to be afraid to be different, afraid of not being cool or sexy. You want them to waste their creative energy on conforming. And so they're going to be less likely to have original ideas, challenge, authority. Some of the strategies here, really the key one is using fear. Surround them with fear. Fear of failure and fear of success. Because remember, success will isolate you from everybody else. We don't want people's uniqueness being celebrated. We want it to be a liability. And for example, clothes, even just simple, what clothes am I wearing? Will make you spend a lot of energy on that, and a lot of money too, which feeds the machine. An important aspect of this is leveraging the family, and the key thing, and this is very important, we want the parents to put pop culture ahead of their children. That's very, very important. And again, they're going to do that naturally because they're so afraid of their children not conforming, not being well-liked, and so on. But the reason why this is so important is that the family is the single most powerful mechanism that makes it hard for the pyramid to exist. And it's a threat to us. It's a threat to our stability, the stability of our culture. And so the idea is that if a child is different, if they think differently, we want them to be shamed by their own parents for being different, being weird. And remember, especially to a child, if your own parents don't celebrate your uniqueness, who else is going to do it? Nobody. This is a lifetime behavior, this victim mentality, this limiting your thinking to the pop culture. That's very, very important. And the key thing here is that this engine is going to sustain itself. Here's the beauty of it, is that this is dogs selling to dogs. The money machine, the very DNA, the very nature of capitalism is to do this. So what we're doing from a very, very young age is we're having consumerism define the individual. And there's a natural instinct that allows us to do that, which is, think about animals. Animals lick their fur, they want to look beautiful, they want to create a nice burrow and a nice home to attract their mates and attract friends. Animals really don't identify themselves as much on what's on the inside. And humans, that's what really separates humans. And we as orchestrators need to remember that, but we want the sheep and the dog to revert to that dog mentality. So we want them to really focus on cars and houses and jewelry and toys from a very young age to define who they are. And pretty soon that's what they're going to bond with. And of course, a lot of times it goes into adulthood, men with their toys. And women's toys would be more fashion and makeup and things like that. The other thing this accomplishes for us is creating that natural ranking. So the pyramid is about accepting ranking. We want people to really, really be attracted to the idea that there's people below them. Everybody wants somebody that's below them to make themselves feel good, a friend who's weaker, somebody who has less money. And this creates that natural sense of superiority to solidify them in the pyramid. And the great thing is that all of this consumerism has made people lazy, so people become complainers, and parents complain, but they don't do anything about it. And that complaining really wastes the energy and again perpetuates that victim mentality and that lack of action. So what we're also doing is we're extending childhood by creating a lot of fantasy entertainment, bubblegum characters, guitars that play themselves rather than have children learn how to play the guitar. It weakens their skill set and their resolve. Superheroes that just blow things up. There's no strategy. They're just robots that destroy things. We create a lot of drama. Life is about drama. It saps a lot of energy and it causes a lot of friction between people, so we create TV shows that have a lot of drama in them. Bubblegum music, bubblegum shows, simple villains. We want them to think a villain, remember, from childhood, has an evil mustache or twisted eyebrows, and good-looking people are always good and bad-looking people are always evil. That's important to control them in the pyramid. And so, but what's also happening is that TV used to be very, very bubblegum. It used to be the father's knows best. But it's actually evolving, as we talked about in entertainment, it's evolving to create more eclectic, more interesting dramatic stories. And so our ability to control a population with simple characters, with bubblegum characters, is relatively secure, but is waning. And potentially could get weaker as the internet explodes. But we do have an important phenomenon that has been used for thousands of years to control men and is immune to evolution. And that's sports. Very powerful, very, very important for controlling that male to prevent him from becoming a strong warrior. We want that male to be a perverted, weak warrior. We want him to focus on the us and them, our team and your team. We don't want complex alliances and things like that. We want them to have repeated patterns of games over and over again. We don't want them to evolve in thought. We want their bonding to be shallow based off the sports statistics as opposed to the cognac and cigar smoking discussions of complexity. We want to encourage that dog behavior that's natural, especially the very, very powerful male. In the old days, hundreds of years ago, we at least had the option of sending the most powerful men off to the Crusades to get rid of them. But now we can drive them into sports, especially that powerful male who isn't interested in sports. We isolate him and we emasculate him. And most of the time, we can turn him into a sheep. We want to prevent that powerful men from bonding with each other. And then the final aspect of pop culture is spiritual narcissism. Spirituality and the desire to do the right thing is on the rise. We talked about this with environmental technologies. And so the key strategy here is to combat real change and replace it with sexy movements. We want spirituality to be sexy. We want environmental to be sexy. And people are going to do this naturally. They're naturally ego-focused. We want them to really focus on their ego when it comes to public good and spirituality and things like that. It gives them a sense of power and connection. And we keep them emotional. We keep them quibbling with each other. And they won't really focus on the key issues. Like, for example, that hydrogen fuel cells make absolutely no sense. Any focus on existing technologies and existing problems is neutered and replaced with brand new markets for spirituality and environmental technologies, again growing the pyramid. So keep in mind that pop culture is very, very important. It's the very nature of the pyramid, an essential component to keeping it going.